Hello and welcome if this is your first time joining me, and or welcome back if you've been following along with me. I'm still Michael Beck, and right now I am thinking about liberty and freedom. Those two terms and ideas that are so central to the American way, but certainly to really all countries, nations that are democratic. And yeah, I'm thinking like just I believe that most all of us would say that we believe in freedom, that we're a proponent of freedom, that our countries have a history in some way or another of being champions and fighting for freedom. But I think that like we have like different ideas of what that practically like means and looks like in terms of a society and the functioning of a country. We I believe or would hope that we all are in agreement that freedom does not mean that someone has the right to murder if they feel like it. But beyond that, it seems like we are not in a common agreement. We could debate like until we're blue in the face over what other rights people should and shouldn't have. And so for for this episode, yeah, I'm not gonna go there and get into that. But I am wanting to broach to think about just the ideas of freedom versus control. And so let's see here. And I guess starting off with just talking about how maybe just personally, but maybe just observing, it seems like we don't really maybe like want to have real and open conversations about freedom and control. Because I think that when we do actually really genuinely and openly talk about it, then it brings up lots of uncomfortable, potentially thoughts and feelings. Because, yeah, on one hand, I think if we, because this is just the way that I'm thinking about it, kind of one versus the other, kind of maybe for and against the arguments of freedom versus control. And if we say that we are under control, then that to me implies that we're not free then, and that we're out of control. Maybe not completely, but to the extent that we are under control and not free, then we have to allow for and accept certain realities about the fact that, well, maybe there are things that are beyond and outside of my control, and that can feel like really uncomfortable. And on the other side of things, if we have freedom and control, there then is a responsibility that comes with it, again, to the extent that we believe that we have freedom and control. And so, yeah, just thinking that if we have freedom and control and use it to impose control and less freedom on others, are we then free? Are we actually free, or are we like a pawn in a system of control? And even maybe if we're not, actively enforcing control and limiting freedom from others, even if we just kind of, stand by, are we not just kind of like a wallflower, are just like the bars on a jail cell in a prison. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot potentially to think about and to go elaborate there. And maybe that feels like a leap or a stretch. But it's just something that I think about and consider, and just the conversation of, control and freedom. Again, to the extent with which I maybe have control and freedom, how do I use that? And am I using am I using my control and freedom to be about seeing more autonomy and freedom for others? And if I'm not, then what does that say? Like, what am I doing? And again, at the same time, just recognizing just the ways that I feel like I have been and felt, out of control, and how much I felt like I've just been a part of a system, and so much has happened to me, and been done to me. And so it's really, a lot to ponder and consider, just the weights of, and the dynamic of having so much and so many things that I didn't control and didn't have a say in, and at the same time considering the level of freedom and control that I do have, and what do I do with that, with the level of like responsibility that I do have in that, and really trying not to just trying to balance that in some kind of a healthy way. I guess is a task for so many of us. Now, I thought that I should add that I feel like, as I'm considering the level of freedom and control that I have or don't have, and the manner of responsibility or not, and trying to balance that and trying to have some kind of grace and compassion for myself, what it could look like to, or how does that change potentially my perspective and my perception of the level of freedom and control that other people do or don't, and the level and the extent to grace and compassion that I can extend to them as well. I think so much of the debate that I hear about and see and have experienced is, having like the thought or the belief that people have the control and the freedom to believe what I believe and live in a way that I think is the right way to live. But what was it like? What does it mean? What would it look like if people maybe don't have the control or the freedom to live the way that I do, or to believe what I believe? And can I extend grace and compassion for that to have some kind of, I don't know, just as I just acknowledge that, wow, like the balance of the freedom and responsibility and accountability, and just the fact that there are things that I do and that I've done that have been such a response and reaction to what's happened to me, and considering how the same is true for others. And again, has to be boundaries and limits, and that's part of the conversation. But just trying to extend things both ways, as I try to be curious and considerate. So yeah. but yeah, it's something that I am thinking about and extending to you, whoever it was ever is watching this. And yeah, certainly something I would love to hear from you with a comment, or if I have the privilege of speaking with you directly, would love to get your thoughts. And it's such a um, yeah, it brings up so many ideas of philosophy and spirituality, religion, sociology, psychology, um, neuroscience. Even just this whole ideas over freedom and control, and how much free will do we have. And if it was an easy, simple thing with clear, definitive answers, then we it would I would not need to even be making this video. But yeah, something I felt that I was thinking about, felt prompted to uh, put into a video and put out there. So yeah, I think that's uh, kind of a less is more approach to this one. I don't really have not gonna go into further to detail, but just kind of putting out um, yeah, putting out just a few breadcrumbs and some big thoughts that I am thinking about. But certainly I know that these are things that have been on the minds of people for perhaps as about as long as we've been around, maybe. But I think it's really worthwhile to think about individually, but also collectively. I just think about so many of the debates that we get into, and yeah, it's like, what it would look like maybe to, I don't know, find some where we can meet and find common ground in terms of um, even just agreeing maybe to start with. Hopefully, again, that we do that. Like, hey, we both believe in freedom, and how can we seek that, strive for that together? To the extent that maybe we desire and want to have autonomy for ourselves, and to have to be like respected. How do we actually hopefully try to see that for others, and not just for ourselves and for our particular in group and tribe. um, so yeah, I think that's really about it. I'm not going to try to ramble on any further. So yeah, thank you as always for taking the time to consider and contemplate these things with me. Until next time, please stay well and take care. All right.